Minnesota governor's office did not have complete information about the woman the governor appointed as director of Minnesota's new marijuana regulatory agency, leading to her surprising resignation after media reports about her financial problems and other issues, according to an audit released Thursday. The audit produced by the Office of Legislative Auditor says the governor's office departed from its standard operating procedure for executive director appointments when selecting Aaron Dupree as director of the state's Office of Cannabis Management. Three differences from the procedure, all related to the background check contributed by Democratic Governor Tim Walz appointing Dupree, without having full and complete information, the audit says. Dupree resigned a day after her appointment in September following media reports that she ran a business that sold products exceeding state limits on THC potency, owed money to former associates, and accumulated tens of thousands of dollars in tax liens. Very interesting. The audit found the Bureau Criminal Apprehension conducted its background check on Dupree largely without the involvement of the Alcohol and Gambling Enforcement Division, which is typically involved in such checks on behalf of the governor's office. The governor's office said the AGED did not have statutory authority to perform the background study for the new Office of Cannabis Management, which is why the BCA did it instead, according to the audit. The governor's office also said BCA consulted with AGED to ensure its process was consistent with past practice, but BCA still had never performed a background study for the governor's office before. As a result, it is possible that some assumptions the governor's office made about the background checks, such as assuming the BCA was reviewing Department of Revenue information, were incorrect, the audit says. Other issues revolved around faulty assumptions of how the BCA would proceed after receiving Dupree's signed release forms, and how the agency conducted financial background checks, resulting in not spotting unpaid tax liens. Immediately following the appointment, the governor's office reviewed its process and implemented changes, including the recommendations listed in the audit. Mary Fee, general counsel of the governor's office, said in a statement. Fee said the governor's office also increased its capacity for research about potential appointments. The audit recommended the governor's office independently confirm that any background checks on people considered for sensitive positions include a review of individual and business tax information from the Department of Revenue, criminal history records from the Department of Public Safety and Corrections, and potentially the FBI, the outstanding court judgments, and any outstanding court judgments. Sensitive positions include the head of Cannabis Office, Gambling Control Board, and Minnesota Lottery. It is recommended that the governor wait to make appointments to sensitive positions until the office has reviewed the complete background check report and made the independent determination of suitability of a candidate. The audit says it considers the matter closed and will not conduct a special review. Minnesota's legalization of recreational marijuana went into effect in August, allowing people 21 and older to legally possess and grow their own marijuana for recreational purposes, subject to limits as the state establishes a legal cannabis industry in the coming months. And that's Saman Razani reporting for High at 9 News. Guys, what do you think about the corruption in politics, and as we see here, and that we know exists in so many other states and jurisdictions? Man, I just want to hear what everybody has to say, about the hypocrisy of the local legislatures. Please.
Business as usual.
Yeah. I maintain my position that I think she is probably one of the best people for that position, because she would understand the plight of the majority of cannabis operators up until this point. Up until they had legalization in Minnesota, she would resonate a lot more with them, just because she had tax liens and stuff. We all have been there. she's had issues, and she was selling THC products like above the limit. I mean, she would probably know more about the game than anybody they put in her place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sounds like she's a part of the already woven fabric, so it's like, is that good or bad? Is that like,
would you rather?
I mean, I don't know. Is that person going to perpetuate the nepotism in there, or is she going to be like fair to other operators, or is she just going to be the whip for the government and the stick to beat all the other operators with people that she doesn't like, people that she doesn't agree with? I don't know. I mean, you tell me, how does that go? Is that a good thing?
I would rather have somebody. I would rather have somebody in charge who has, who has been there. That's just me. Like I don't know this. I don't know this lady on a personal level. I don't know if there's like more negative stuff on her record, but some of the people that they put in that have never been in the game, that have never run a business, like they've failed miserably. We've seen that here in California.
Yeah, but what about just the general bias you have coming in as an operator, knowing the landscape, having your favorite people and your not so favorite people? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think industry always has a place at the table. It should have a stakeholding position in any conversation at the legislature. But I mean, to put someone in charge of that and to say, hey, it's your role. Obviously, there was like it wasn't done so legitimately if they're having so many issues, and she resigned. But I mean, no one wants to be mired in like a scandal. And so it's like,
what are you talking about? This is America.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we love scandal.
We love
scandal.
Yes.
Scandal is a new cultivar.
Dirty laundry.
I mean, here's
running for president right now.
OG.
Go ahead, Yarrow. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've covered this story since the beginning, and we celebrated her being hired because we were glad that the state was hiring somebody from within the industry. And within a New York minute, she went in and out. I hope she got paid for that one day, by the way. And a couple things come up for me. The first is they made some mistakes in the vetting process. The natural line of inquiry would lead me to wonder where else and what other appointments in this administration have also suffered from sloppy vetting. And then the second thing that comes up for me is like owing people money and having tax liens is not a disqualification. And so there are a lot of people in business who owe money. Sometimes debt is not a bad thing. Having tax liens doesn't mean that you forged your tax returns. It means that you're not caught up. And I don't think that we should be looking at people to run government who have such spotless records that they haven't gone out there, made some mistakes, fallen on their face, have some things to clean up. And so, like, I don't think that that's a fair metric. The other thing that comes up for me is if she sold stuff that was over the state limits, that to me seems like the only disqualifying factor that has been communicated. And if that was the case, there's also a world in which that governor's office says, yeah, she made some mistakes. We're backing her because she knows what it's like to be imperfect. And they could have just leaned in and supported her and said, yes, those could be seen as a disqualifier, but we see those as a qualifier because it's just representative of how complicated it is to operate in this highly regulated and quickly evolving industry. And so they didn't do that. They kicked her out of the moving bus within 24 hours. And I think that says something about this administration as well. At the end of the day, and we talked about leadership yesterday with Hochul, at the end of the day, leadership is not just about owning it. It's also about supporting your people. And if they really wanted her in there, they could have had a little bit more backbone. They could have said, yep, warts and all, that's our gal, and she's the one who's going to lead us to this next chapter for our state industry.
It's obvious that it was done illegitimately. That's why they didn't support her, because if there was nothing wrong, they would have stood there and said, hey, we stand by our decision.
Well, Yarrow,
but it's not corruption; it's incompetence, and there's a difference.
Well, Yarrow, here's my whole take on all of this. Okay, I agree with your last statement 100%, because I could just picture this lady making it so that anything over 5 milligrams is legal to sell across the state, and then her in her office, her sell everything 10 milligrams, 20 milligrams, and 50 milligrams, 100 milligrams right out of her office.
I just think it's another corrupt Democratic, local governor, and he's gonna do what he wants to do, and that's just this is just proving it. It's like can't just bypass our process in this, however they did it in Minnesota, whether it was an amendment to their constitution or whether it was an amendment or another type of bill that passed. But like, you have to like actually take heed of the people's request for a industry to be born and to be blossomed, and you can't fuck it up from the beginning like everyone's doing, right? Because it just takes years to rebound, and then you have this confusion, and it's like this is just not helpful to anybody who's trying to get in business in Minnesota or just trying to be a patient or just trying to do their thing. There's no leadership. There's just no guidance from the top down. And when you're reliant on the government to lay out these rules and promulgate this industry, you have to wait for them to get their shit together. So this is just more nonsense, more waiting. This is crazy. We already have a playbook. There's already, it's just bad poor decision making. And maybe it's not nefarious, Yarrow, but it's stupid and it's incompetence, and that's worse maybe than corruption, because that's just like, why are you running the state? What are you doing?
What happened to Jesse Ventura on this?
I don't know. He got caught. He got caught.
Much about him.
Hold on. You got any thoughts on this, Todd?
Wherever there's money, there's going to be corruption, right? And I think if they just, improve their background checks.
Well, of course you know.
Problem.
Of course you know that, Todd. You live in Vegas. There's lots of money out there.
yeah, for sure. But I agree with Yarrow. They, why not have somebody who's fallen down, run something, and because this way, if all these politicians that run for office don't have a background, right? They're bound to just fuck up, right? If they haven't fucked up yet, then they're bound to while in office. She's already made some mistakes. She's learned, how to do things right. And I also support 100% having industry people in the legislation and in the government to really help support operators, because it's very far and few between.
And
I also liked when they appointed her that she was a woman. Not that was the reason why she was hired, but that she was appointed. And I would love governors who say, yeah, that's my appointment, warts and all, we're going to run with this person. And until they make a mistake on the job, they've got the job. And instead, this guy folded like a lawn chair.
Oh, boy. You know what?
No, they were definitely weighing those options. They definitely had all of them in front. They said, oh, this person, but she's got a little controversy, but she's a woman. Should we pick her to run the thing? They're like, yeah, sure. And then it blew up in their face. I mean, there was probably a list of candidates, probably a mile long. But it's like, you got to make the right choice. You cannot go backwards with things like this, because you lose your credibility. I mean, now, I don't know. I mean, again, it's just a setback. I don't know what's going to happen, how to untwine that knot that just got created there. But, Minnesota's got some hope. I know some great growers in that region. I know some great people from that region who are great growers. So, I know they want to get it together so they have some guidance and they can, get some commerce done.
Well, we got to go to a commercial.
I stand by my statement. Yeah, Jesse Ventura.
Yeah, we got to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.